Hello, friends, and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is in the playlist called Linux Tutorial, and here we'll be learning how to create a Linux text file without the use of a text editor. Okay, that's clear. So we will, I am giving special emphasis on the phrase without the use of a text editor because in some of the subsequent videos, we will really be using the default text editor of Linux, which is VI. And but that is a lot of videos will be devoted to that because it's quite a big topic. Okay, so for now, we'll be talking about uh, the alternative ways of creating a text file. First of which is the touch command. Okay, so just a few points to take note of about the touch command. It can be used to create a text file. Um, and another point is that if the file is existing when you use the touch command, the command will update the file's timestamp or date timestamp. Okay. So the very simple syntax. There could be other, not there could be, but there are other syntaxes of touch which are not so complicated, but it will confuse you at this stage. You could look it up with the man pages, MAN, manual pages of Linux itself, or you can Google it. And we can also talk about it in some other video. But right now, this is the basic command to make use of the touch command. So touch followed by the file name. Again, if the file doesn't exist, it will be created. And if it exists, sorry, if it doesn't exist, it will be created. If it already exists, the touch command will update the timestamp of that file. Okay, so for now, this file doesn't exist. And when you execute, you will not see an outright output on your monitor, on your screen, but what it did in the background is to create the file if it doesn't exist already. Okay, so let's just do an list long of this file. Okay, so you can see that it has been created, and just to show you that indeed it is newly created, I will issue the date command, and then you can compare the date timestamp January 8th, 2230, that's 10:30 p.m. And here also January 8th, 2230, that's 10:30 p.m. So indeed, this file over here has been newly created by the execution of the touch command over here. Okay, take note, when you use touch command, it will create an empty text file. Okay, an empty text file. And why is that so? Because you are using the touch command without the use of a text editor, and you are not feeding it any kind of input of text or value or what. You're simply specifying as a parameter the file name that you want to give the new file. Okay? Or if it's an existing file, you're still supplying that file name, and what touch will do is to update the timestamp of that file. So again, if you look at the output of the list long over here, you will see that it has 0 bytes. It's a 0 byte file, meaning it's an empty file. All right. And I will just clear the screen. And just to show you it's really empty, I will use the cat command, which we have talked about in a previous video. And you can see there's nothing. There's no error there after the execution of the cat command, but because the file is empty, you've already seen that it has 0 bytes in the list long output. But now with the execution of the cat command, you can see that indeed this file is empty. But you've also seen that the timestamp of this file is quite new, very much matching the system date with the output of the date command, which I have just also executed. Okay. Now, okay, so that's the first way of creating a text file without the use of a text editor. So for now, you may not see the importance or the significance or the value of using the touch command. It's all right, but in subsequent videos, I can talk about it. And in fact, in the real world scenario, in complex applications such as banking applications, the touch command is heavily used, maybe not heavily used, but very much in use because one of the among the usages of this is to create a file, like a status file that will serve as a flag or an indicator that something is successful or in error, etc., etc. It could also be used to create a log file, which is initially empty, and then over a period of time, maybe every few minutes or whenever needed, it will be filled up with log entries in a manner that is called appending. It is being appended. So the file itself will just continuously grow, although initially empty. And it is programmatically, that file has been programmatically created with the use of the touch command. Okay. So that's the first way of creating a text file without the use of a text editor. The second way of creating a text file, without the use of a text editor is what's called redirection. So it's called output redirection. And the redirection operator is the one shown on the screen. You can see it is the greater than operator in mathematics, but it also looks like an arrow, which is pointing to the right. So that is the output redirection operator. A couple of things uh, to note about this operator or about redirection is it redirects standard output, std out of Linux, the standard output of a command to a file because in the normal way, the output of a command, normally you will see it in the monitor, in the terminal, on your screen, on your console. Those are the terminologies you will hear. But with the redirection, the output, the std out gets redirected to a file. So second point to note about this redirection thing is that if the file already exists, it gets overwritten. Okay? And finally, third point to note about this redirection is if the file does not exist, it will be created. Okay? So let me just clear the screen. So there are many usages of this redirection, but I'll just give you a simple example of the use of redirection. So what happens is that you will issue a command, and then after the command, you will use the redirection operator, output redirection, which is greater than symbol, and then it's like an arrow pointing to the right, and after the operator you will specify the file name. So what will happen is whatever you supplied on the left side of the operator gets passed or being output instead of to the terminal. It is being sent to the file that you have specified. Okay, see this? So again, as if nothing happened, but indeed something happened in the background, which is the output of this. Okay, if you look at this command, it's actually consisting of two steps in here. Um, think of the redirection character operator as a wall. And so the first step is this one, the echo command. You've already seen me show you how the echo command works and how it is used in a previous video. So it's used for sending a standard output normally to the screen, to the terminal. So in this case, I'm saying echo in a bunch of text enclosed in a pair of double quotes, my first use of redirection. So in the normal, the std out standard output, it will be shown on your screen. But because after the echo command, I am using an output redirection operator, which is a greater than symbol, what happens is that this bunch of text within the or enclosed in the double quotes get sent instead to the file called redir.txt, which I have specified. Okay, so if I do an ls now of this file, then it is there. And again, if you want to verify how new it is, then you can see it is indeed new. So the date stamp right now is 10:38 p.m. and the file date stamp is timestamp is 10:36. So quite new. Indeed, that has been created by the redirection action over here. Okay. So unlike the previous example wherein we have used the touch command to create an empty text file, this one is different because in redirection, uh, we send the output, the S standard output to a file. So in this case of mine, I am passing as a parameter this bunch of text over here, enclosed in double quotes, and it gets sent to this file. So naturally, the file to be created ready, that text will not be empty. So when I did a list long of that file over here, list long here, you can see that it's not empty. 29 bytes. This one is the date and the time, but this one is the bytes of that file, 29 bytes. So it's not empty. And if you really want to make sure it's not empty, then you can use a cat command, concatenate, to get a view or take a look at a small file. And it's not empty. Okay, so in this video, we have seen two alternative ways of creating a text file or an ASCII file without the use of a text editor. The first one being the use of the touch command, which will create an empty text file. Second is we used output redirection with the use of the operator, which looks like a greater than. It is a greater than, and it looks like an arrow pointing to the right. Okay, so those are, it may not be all, but it's a good start for you to look at these possibilities, which will become your building blocks and will become part of your toolbox once you get to a point that you're ready to write your first Linux shell script. Then all these building blocks and tools will come in handy and you'll be able to piece them together and glue them together. Okay, thanks for watching and listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell. If you have, I'll be seeing you in the next video.